Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. This is Dr. Najia Almaz. I'm here with the second part of speech act theory. So I want to recapitulate a little that we have done in our previous slides related to the same topic, and you can go and find that on the YouTube channel also. So we learned that speech act theory has three levels according to Austin, and I'm going to um, tell you the definitions of these. Again, locutionary acts are the utterance of a sentence with a determinate sense and reference. Then we have allocutionary act. It is the making of a statement, offer, promise, etc. in uttering a sentence by virtue of the conventional force associated with it. And then we have perlocutionary act, the bringing about of effects on the audience by means of uttering a sentence, such as effects being special to the circumstances of utterance. So we learned the true meanings and their meaning, their effect, the intended meaning, and after listening the sentences, how the listeners are responding. So we have done that with a very simple example of it is very cold here. Now I'm going to explain it a bit further. Uh, and now the example is a bit complex, but it is going to explain all three levels profoundly well, inshallah. So, for example, a woman says to her friend, I have a new and very expensive diamond necklace. Would you like to borrow it? So, the locutionary act, it is a simple utterance that states that this woman has a new dress and a very, very expensive necklace, and she is asking her friend if she wants to borrow that. So, the illocutionary act would be the effect that the listener is receiving. So that can be thinking that it is an offer by her friend. So this is the illocutionary act, that she's thinking that her friend is offering her a beautiful dress and her necklace to borrow and wear somewhere. So the third one is perlocutionary effect. Now she said, I have a beautiful dress, locutionary. Her friend thought it is an offer, but perlocution may be intended or unintended, right? So this friend, the second one, she can think that my friend is showing me a friendly attitude, right? So in this case, an unintended possibility of the perlocutionary effect could be for her friend to feel offended because she can interpret that her friend is trying to belittle me by implying that she could never have or never buy such an expensive dress or jewelry by her own self. See, so this is how the last one, perlocutionary, could be perceived differently also. So it is very important to note that when you are going for the locutionary act, it should be said in a manner that illocutionary act must not be disturbed, or it must not be affected. So the most important one is the illocutionary act that affects the perlocutionary act. The most important one we have is here is illocutionary, and it is further divided into these five categories, and I'm going to recapitulate a little about that a bit further. So the first one is representatives. So these are the acts which commit the speaker to the truth of the expressed proposition, for example, concluding or asserting. And then we have directives, and these are the attempts by a speaker to get the addressee to do something: questioning, requesting, begging, ordering, forbidding, instructing, warning, or urging. And then we have commissive, and these are the acts which commit the speaker to some future course of action. For example, promising, offering, guaranteeing, pledging, vowing, swearing, undertaking, warranting, inviting, offering, swearing, or volunteering. And then we have expressives, and they are the acts which express a psychological state. For example, welcoming, apologizing, thanking, appreciating, congratulating, detesting, deploring, or regretting. And finally, we have declaratives. These are the acts which bring about immediate change in the situational state of affairs, and thus tend to reply on extra linguistic situations such as questioning, declaring war, um, sentencing, like sending a convict to a capital punishment, sending them to jail, or pronouncing a, as I gave you the example of pronouncing a couple, husband and wife, uh, naming, for example, baptizing the child, or naming something, naming a shape or something. So now we have context and discourse, role of politeness. So directives are instructions, requests, or commands, and much more that we have already discussed. So how directives are understood in context highlight that speech act depend on context. Could you open the door? So context means the situation or background where the directive is spoken. It helps us to know what the speaker really means. Before going further into detail, I would like to tell you the levels of politeness here. Now, listen very carefully. If I say, open the door, can you open the door? Can you please open the door? Could you please open the door? Could you please mind opening the door? Gradually, this becomes more polite, right? So you have to look into this, that how you are going to address people. So it is that one sentence is said to one person cannot be said to another person, and sometimes when it is said in one setting cannot be said in another setting. You can say open the window to your sister while you're at home. But when you are with the guests or you are visiting somebody, some relative, you cannot say it that way. Open the door, open the window. You would say, please open the window, even if it is to your sister, right? And then we have words used. So here we have the words in directive effect, how it is understood. For example, could you please open the window? Sound polite. But if I say open the window, it sounds like a command. Then we have situation. We, again, the same thing. You can say something in one place or in one setting, you cannot say it in another. For example, if I'm in the class and you guys are making some noise, I would say, be quiet, right? Or you are studying in the library and the librarian says, be quiet. That's fine. That's very fine. But the same group of people, for example, you are having a party in our department and you have invited the teachers also. And there you are like having fun, laughing, cracking jokes, and all that. And there your teacher would not say, be quiet. Do you understand now? Then we have relationship. This is something that really matters. The relationship between the speaker and the listener affects the meaning. A teacher would be saying, do your homework. It is more serious. But if your friends say, do your homework, that is not that serious as um, when your teacher said it. So it also depends upon the relationship also. Then we have culture. Now, politeness changes in different cultures. In some cultures, a direct do this is okay, but in others, it might seem rude. Now, here I would like to tell you a living example of somebody like who was talking about the soft skills and the hard skills, and he said that I migrated to Canada, and there I was having a very good position in the company, and a post was announced, and I was damn sure I'm going to get this post because I was having a PhD degree, and my work experience was far more than the other person who was applying for the same post with me. So, but when um, the result came up, I was really surprised. I was not the one selected for that position, the other one was, and I was very upset. I thought maybe they were the racists. Then I realized no, he's also from from my country, and he was a Frenchman, and he said that he was from, and he's also a white. I'm also a white. This is not the case. What happened then? Then he went to the boss and asked why, and he said that people around him are more like he's more collegial to his subordinates, and people around him are very like okay and fine and at ease with him, and this is not the case with you. Even the people who work as your as your subordinates, they do not tell their problems to you, but they go to him, and that is the reason that he won this. So this is something like you have to be polite. If you are polite, people are coming to you. That is going to help you. This is your soft skill. So in his culture, maybe being that polite to the subordinates was not a thing, but the other person who was coming from another European country, for them it was. Similarly, if it is like America, a person would say a little, a person would say thanks would be okay. For example, I would use the same example again. It's very cold here. The other person listened and closed the window. I would say, how can I thank you for this? And that person would say, just thanks is enough. But if you are in Britain, you are not going to say that way. You would say, a little gratitude would suffice. And then we have the purpose, right? The speaker's reason for giving the directive is important. Are they asking nicely? We just did the level of politeness, right? In the previous slide. Are they asking nicely, or they are being sarcastic, or giving a strict order? You see, you must be having this experience at home. Sometimes mothers are quite very sarcastic, right? They would say, um, finally, finally, you have come down with your beautiful being or your great splendid being, and you are giving us this great honor to sit with us. There are things like that. These are the sarcastic remarks, right? So you have to be right very careful even when you are addressed like that, how you have to behave. And even when you have to go for some kind of sarcastic remarks, so you have to be careful that you have to choose your words wisely, not like that, not the bitter ones, right? Apart from the lecture, I'm just giving you this little piece of advice. Then we have, all right, I would like to summarize again what is a speech act theory. So it is, language is not just for sharing information, it is used to perform actions. And the examples are I apologize, I promise, I declare. And then there are three levels of speech act theory. Locutionary act, the act of saying something, literal meaning. It's called here. Stating a fact. Then we have elocutionary act, the intention or purpose behind the utterance. You want somebody to do something, act on this. There's a function behind saying that. So it's called here, it is a request to close the window. And then we have prelocutionary act, the effect of the utterance on the listener. Listener then closes the window. Then we have several types of speech acts: assertive, statement of fact or belief, the earth revolves around the sun. Then we have directives, attempts to make the listener do something, please pass the salt. Then we have commissive, commitments to future actions, I'll meet you at 5 p.m. Expressives, expressing feelings or emotions, thank you for helping me. Declarations, statements that change the world through the utterance. I now pronounce you husband and wife. Context and discourse, speech acts depend on context, relationship, and power dynamic. Can you open the door? Directive or rhetorical, depending on context. So, this was all for today. Thank you very much, girls. It was so nice being with you with this lecture. Take care. Allah Hafiz.